You may not remember this, but 20 years ago today, our solar system changed in a pretty dramatic way. It wasn't a breakthrough or some kind of interplanetary discovery. No, 2 decades ago, Pluto was downgraded from a full-fledged planet to a dwarf planet.
For some, the sting of that cosmic demotion has never gone away, and they have been fighting to return Pluto to planet status ever since.
For more on this debate, let's bring in Dr. Seven Rasmussen. She is an astrobiologist and author of the book Cloudy with a Chance of Starships, How the Drake Equation Reveals the Odds of Life in the Cosmos. I don't think we're going to talk about the Drake equation today, but we do want to talk about Pluto. First of all, just walk us through 20 years ago how we got here, how the process worked to demote Pluto at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened 21 years ago is that another dwarf planet called Eris was discovered. Eris is has twice as long a year as Pluto does, and it's actually more massive. And suddenly we had to reckon with the fact that maybe there's a lot of planets out there. So in 2006, we made the executive decision to kind of have a cutoff for the solar system so that we have 8 planets and then an unknown number of dwarf planets that would be discovered afterward. Now we have 5 dwarf planets.
Walk us through what the criteria is. Like, what's a planet, what's a dwarf planet, and what it is that, like, Pluto's missing for full planet status?
Yeah, so a planet has to be round. So, you know, all the solar system planets are notably very, very round. It has to orbit the sun. An exoplanet orbits another star. Our planets orbit the sun. Our moons, not planets, they're orbiting planets. The third qualification is the really sticky one. You have to have done something called clearing your orbit. And that means that you have to have swept up all of the junk in your orbit and congealed it into your own mass in order to count as a planet. Pluto hasn't done this. It lives in a region called the Kuiper Belt, where comets and asteroids and dust and all kinds of things are living. It has not congealed the Kuiper Belt into itself.
Sounds like a Roomba. So you describe how when you were 13, how disappointing this was for you. We know NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman, he'd like to see Pluto promoted once again to return to that status. What's the debate? Is this like a politician sort of versus scientific community thing, or is there some debate within the scientific community as well to bring Pluto back to planet status?
I would say that it's definitely a politics versus science in this case, because it's not just NASA that is thinking about Pluto. It was actually demoted by the International Astronomical Union. So the entire world came together and said, Pluto, you're not a planet anymore. So regardless of what we feel, the scientific consensus is that it really isn't a planet, and it's best to keep 8 planets and a growing number of dwarf planets. The scientific consensus really is there for Pluto's not a planet.
What are we still hoping to learn about Pluto?
There's a lot we can still learn about Pluto because Pluto is actually a fascinating, very active object. I would say that it's kind of like a very volcanic object, except the volcanism is all from ices that are happening. We can see that the heart-shaped, the Tomball Regia that we saw in 2015, that is an active volcanic ice region. We can also learn about the Kuiper Belt itself and the comets that come from it. And we can also kind of tie it into the interstellar comet visitors that we've been seeing in the last few years. By studying Pluto, we can learn more about where comets came from and how they delivered important molecules to the Earth, and how we can expect to study other solar systems.
So bottom line, what would you tell your 13-year-old self and all the others out there who would love to see Pluto become the 9th planet once again?
Look, dwarf planets are so cool
there you go.
On their own.
And there's a lot we can learn from those as well.
Absolutely. There's still so much to learn.
All right, Dr. Rasmussen, good to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us for this conversation.
Coming up on Morning